mentor and Kava and Gava. I'm It's Monday morning again, and things are busy Monday morning. So there we go. And yeah, so just kind of getting organized after the weekend. I had to actually clear my office out. Well, I shouldn't say that. Clear my desk and a variety of things on my desk away because my husband was taking a course over the weekend, and so yeah, I had to tidy up my desk and get rid of all of my things so that he would have some space. So I'm just kind of putting it all back together this morning and kind of getting started. And I'm super dry. My face, oh my goodness, I need all kinds of cream. We spent a lot of time outside this weekend, which was really nice. So my hands have been dry from washing them incessantly, of course. But now it's just my face, my lips, everything, my forehead, everything is super dry because we were outside enjoying the beautiful weather. So I hope it's supposed to rain today because it makes it a lot easier to stay inside if it's not nice out. But it certainly has been a little bit cool, but still nice and sunny and beautiful. And so I hope the weather is improving where you are. I think it certainly helps with the mood, you know. And so we all need a boost where we can, and sometimes it's really challenging to get that done by ourselves all the time. So I think if Mother Nature tries to help us out a little bit, I think that's really cool. So today I want to talk to you about a question that it's a really vague question, but I get asked this question quite a lot. I do. Obviously, I speak to a lot of VAs. I tell you guys this all the time. I'm talking to a lot of people who are just very curious about the virtual assistant industry. And so I get a wide variety of questions from people who are just curious about it or who have heard of it, and then all the way to, you know, people who are trying to build and grow and build huge empires and that kind of thing. So, but one of the questions that I get, which I find to be a really vague question, and it ends up requiring a little bit of digging from me to figure out exactly what it is that they're asking, is how does being a VA work? And so I'm going to answer a few of those questions today, or give you a few responses, I suppose, around it. And hopefully that answers some of your questions. I just kind of thought maybe it would be good to have a really general sort of informational video for you as I try to sort of vary the topics of what we talk about here every week. And on the YouTube channel, when we move the videos over to there, just kind of talk about, I look through and I think, what have I not covered yet? And there's lots and lots of things that I haven't covered. And this one continually comes up. So I thought this is something that I'm going to talk about. So how does it work being a VA? The very first thing, and I'm just going to kind of gloss through a couple of things that you really need to start with, is that you really need to understand that you're starting a business. A virtual assistant and remote work, or a remote assistant, is not the same thing. Okay. When you are starting to be a VA, it is typically you're a business owner. You're going to open a business. You're going to start your own virtual assistant business. You will be a contractor then for other people, and you will be contracting to them, which means that you're not an employee of theirs. You don't go on their payroll. You don't do anything like that. You are responsible for invoicing your clients and getting payment and paying yourself and paying all the other things that go with owning a business. And of course, I'm not going to get into all of that stuff. But the bottom line is that you really are, you're not an employee. It's not a remote work situation. You're not trying to find a job. You are trying to find clients that you will work with in a contracting sort of situation. You can call it a freelancer. There's lots of different names for it. I used to call myself a consultant before I realized that I was a VA, and there was this huge industry out there. And really, people talk all the time about what should you call yourself? How should you refer to yourself? And that to me has just been like, our industry is a VA industry. And so that's what I always have been. Now, I worked with 6 and 7 figure business coaches, and I provided high level marketing and client care support. And that didn't make, calling myself a VA just never entered into it for me, because it's somebody, if somebody asks you what it is you do, you don't just have to say what your title is. You can actually talk to people about what it is that you do. And I think for me, it's always been, I am a virtual assistant, and these are the people I help, and these are the things that I help them with. So you try to get yourself past that piece of what it is that what your title is, right? So, but understanding that if you're not really familiar with the VA industry at this point, that, somebody who's a freelancer or somebody who's a consultant, maybe that, then that sort of closes the loop for you, and you understand then that that's exactly what a VA is. So, hey, Deborah, can you be both a remote worker and a VA? You can, for sure. You can have somebody, you can be on somebody's payroll, and you can run a part-time VA business. There's nothing wrong with that. But they are handled completely differently. When you're on somebody's payroll, you are their employee. They decide your rate, they decide your work hours, they decide your tasks, they decide everything, and they take all of the, withholdings from your income and that kind of thing. They probably decide how you get paid. Well, lots of people just do direct deposit anymore, but yeah, so you absolutely can do both things. And actually, on my is that on my website? Yeah, I think it's on my website. My how much should I charge freebie is I call it my rate calculator, and there's a provision in there for it. So it helps you to see a bunch of different things, but it helps you to see if you have a job, if you have other income coming in from places, how you can actually set your rates based on what it is that you need to do in your business, and you can see how much money you're going to earn. So, or how much money you need to earn. So it's kind of a cool thing. But absolutely, I worked part-time for probably a couple of years at one point, because it just took the pressure off trying to find clients. And so I worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, and then I would come home and work on my VA work in the afternoons. And my clients knew that I was, I had a client that I worked at, and I went to their office, and I wasn't in my office, but then I responded to them all in the afternoon. So you can do whatever it is that you want, for sure. So you start your own business. That's the number one thing. The second thing is you start with skills that you have. A lot of VAs think that they have to start with learning something and then trying to offer that service to clients. And I always advise against that, because when we're first getting started, there's a confidence issue, but there's also being a new VA, there's, you're green, right? You might not be nervous to talk to people, but a lot of times you don't really know where to find clients. Maybe you don't know what to talk about. You don't know how to do negotiations. You don't know how to talk about money. Never really had to, right? If you ever have just had a corporate job or a boss, you go in for the interview, you pump yourself up, and they tell you all those things that I was just talking about. They tell you the wages, they tell you the hours, they tell you everything. And so when you are a VA, you have to turn around and do all of this stuff yourself. So what I always say, that start with the skills that you have, whatever admin skills that you know how to do right now. They're employable because you've had a job that help, that you've done these things in. And so definitely they are usable skills. And so that's what I always recommend. And, sometimes you may have to take a little training to brush up on something that's online or whatever, but you really do need to start with where you are so that you can master all of this other new stuff. And then once you have clients coming in, once you have money coming in, then you can take training and change your services, which is what I did. I started into internet marketing. I started doing finance and bookkeeping work because I knew how to do it. I didn't want to build a business around it, but I could get clients. I had money. I had my part-time job, which was also a bookkeeping thing. And then I was able to afford training. And then I already had all this other stuff now mastered, talking to clients, networking, doing all the stuff that I needed to do. And then I could make a simple shift in the services that I offered and the people that I was looking. Well, in some cases, I stayed with the same clients. I just changed the services I offered them. And we brought in other people to do what I used to do. So, you look from it from that perspective. So you start with the skills you have. That's a really, really important piece of getting started easily, because you don't sound like somebody who's not confident. Maybe you don't know exactly how to manage somebody's email or manage somebody's calendar. But those are the things that you'll need to learn. But you won't need to learn the other pieces of something that you've been doing for a long time in a corporate place. So the third thing is you have to find your own clients. And I've said this a little bit already. Again, you could do that by responding to RFPs, finding job boards, connecting with people online, connecting with people in person. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of how you find your clients, but that is something that's really, really important. How does it all work? You're not going to put your website up and people are going to start calling you all of a sudden, unless you're, a real marketing genius. That's fantastic. But you really do need to connect with people, and you need to be able to find the job boards that have the people, and job boards are fine, RFPs are fine, but it's a really difficult way to build your business. A faster way to build your business is to find the clients that you can support, that you can support best, and move to where they are and start networking with them. And you can get 2 or 3 clients really, really quickly that way, just by playing your cards right. So, and just, that seems really a generic thing to say, but by communicating with them, providing them value, and making, building relationships with them. So it's a little bit better way of saying it, right? So, and then you collaborate with them online. So anything that you do, and one of my old bosses taught me this. Actually, he's the one who launched my whole career of me working virtually. I was going off on maternity leave, and he said, "Okay, so when are you going to be able to get back to work?" And I said to him, "Well, I'm having a baby, so I wasn't really thinking anytime soon." And I knew I didn't want to go back to that job. I didn't like all the things that I was doing at it. So I hadn't really made a decision on what I was going to do after that. And he said, "Well, this piece of what you're doing is really, really important for me. So I'd like you to, continue that as soon as you can." And so we outsourced, basically, we moved all the other things that I was doing over to somebody else in the corporation. And I just took on the things that I actually really loved to do and that was really important to him. And he said, and I said, "Well, I don't know how I'm going to come to the office with the baby all the time." And he says, "It's about a half an hour away from my house." And he said, "Well, we already communicate by email." He said, "You don't work in my office or at my desk with me. So we can email back and forth. We can speak on the phone when we need to. If you need to come to the office to pick some things up once a week, or, whatever it is, it was a restaurant chain. And so we were already in 4 different cities. The restaurants were in 4 different cities. And so he's like, we already do so much stuff by email anyway. And so, if we need to have a meeting, we can have a meeting, and that kind of thing. And you do the same thing with your clients. You figure out how to collaborate with them. And if that means email, Gmail is super popular, right? So, a lot of people still use Outlook too, but you can actually log into these things, and, everybody access the same stuff. There's lots of different ways to collaborate for filing systems: Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive. There's, a lot of different things that you can use. So it's about figuring those pieces out. And that's why I always say, start with the tasks or the skills that you know already, because that's, this is all the other stuff that you need to figure out. How do I manage passwords? How do I manage, the files for my clients? How do I manage communication? How do I manage meetings? How do I figure out, how to get work from them or give work back to them? Or how do I make sure that they're always up to date on, the status of any project or any task that we're doing? So it's really important to work on those things and figure out how you're going to do that, but not from the freaked out, I have no idea how to do this thing. Just think about it as, I'm working in my office and my colleague is over there in their office. How do I get things from here to there? Well, sometimes I'll walk it over and I'll hand it to them. Well, what is the alternative? If that person was working from home, what would you do? And so you just kind of look at it from that perspective and say, okay, this particular issue, how do I manage it? And there's always something, right? There's project management systems. There's password managers that help you keep share passwords and keep things secure. There are lots of different systems that have, you don't even need your clients' logins. You have to be able to, sometimes you're able to be set up as an admin on a lot of different systems. So whatever it is that you're going to be accessing, just look for the specific details of what you need to get done. I know for my CRM system, it's my CRM, e-commerce, marketing, everything system in Fusionsoft. And my VAs have their own user access to it. So they don't need my passwords. They need their own passwords. And I have access to what they can see and what they can do. And then if I stop working with somebody, then I just remove their access. So, there's lots of different ways that everything kind of fits together. And that's, those are the things that you need to find out. So, Deborah, I've not been able to see all the videos. I'm experienced AA with many skills. How do you overcome the fear of getting your first client? And is there a video on how to complete an RFP, and how do I break that down as what to do? That's a lot of questions all at once, Deborah. So the very first one, so you've got a lot of skills. That's fantastic. I think that's amazing. What I teach in with the clients and the what do I call them? Students. The clients and the students that I work with is I teach what's called a skills inventory. So what you do is you write down all the skills that you have, and then you have to select them. The key in business is getting really specific about what you can do and not being a laundry list of, not having or offering a laundry list of services to clients, but really getting specific about maybe you're really good at, like I say, communication and client care. Maybe you're really good at numbers and, data reporting and key performance indicators, strategy, that kind of thing. Maybe you're really good at bookkeeping and the other kind of numbers, right? Bookkeeping and that type of thing. Maybe you're really good at writing and creating maybe social media or something like that. Maybe that's something that you like. So you want to really get specific on whatever it is. And you could do client care and social media. You can do client care and bookkeeping, or bookkeeping and whatever it is. You can, sort of figure out. But the less you talk about doing, the easier it is for your clients to understand that that's your area of specialty. If you're talking about 20 different service offerings that you offer, it's confusing, and they won't see if you're talking about these 5 and they don't have a need for those 5, but they maybe have a need for the other 5. You want to get as specific as you can. As a business owner, it's a really, really important thing to do right from the get-go. Overcoming the fear of getting your first client. Actually, getting the first client is exciting. It's not that scary. Trying to find the first client, I would say, is the scary part. And I think one of the biggest recommendations that I give is to just communicate with people every single day. The more you talk to people in a business setting about business stuff, the more you're going to be able to finesse those conversations, right? And you're going to be able to build those relationships. And so my recommendation is always to speak to 2 people every single day, wherever you're going to be marketing, and choose a place to do your marketing. There's all these videos. There's tons of videos. If you go to the YouTube channel, they're a little bit easier to sort through than here in the group. But you can also just search the topic as well if you're looking for something, and they all appear here in the group. But that's really the important thing is you have to just put yourself out there, and the more you sit back and don't do that from the fear of taking that first step, the longer it's going to take you to get clients. And so get out there and futz up a couple of conversations. I've done it myself. I still continue to do it if I'm marketing a new program or something like that, and I have a conversation with somebody and I'm just like, oh my God, what did I just say? Like, why did I say that? It happens to everybody all the time. And so what you have to do is get through those first 1 or 2 and recognize what it is that you did wrong or that you said wrong, and then move on to the third, and just keep talking to people, and you'll get better at it. And certainly the more often you do it, the better you'll get at it as well. So is there a video to complete an RFP? I don't think there is in this group. That's something that is part of, we have RFPs at the associations, so either the Canadian Association or the Global VA Associations. And so I have RFP training over there because we have a job board over there. So, and yeah, so there we go. I hope that answered all of your questions. So what do we have on how does being a VA work? So you start your own business. You start with the skills you have. You have to find your own clients. You collaborate with them in a variety of different systems. And if you don't know how to do that, that's what you have to learn. You get access and logins to their systems and processes and all that kind of thing. And the last thing is you are the one to keep them on task. I think I always have my little notes here in front of me. You are the one who has to keep them on task. When our VA clients call us because they need our help, it's often because they struggle with the administrative part of their business. So as much as we may feel like a new VA, we have the skills, we have the experience, we have the hopefully the personality to get them organized. That's the biggest thing that they often need. And that's the thing that they're often looking for, is that they don't know how to keep all the balls in the air. And that's just not ever been their specialty, right? If they're a coach, if they're a real estate agent, if whatever it is, that's their niche. That's their specialty, is how they work with their clients. And so for us, how we work with our clients is we manage all the administrative balls for them. So it's really, really important to go in understanding that they are not to keep things organized and just send us work whenever they need it done. The better way to be a VA is to be proactive like that and say, okay, what do you need done this week? Here, we're going to prioritize it like this. This is what I need from you. This is what I will do. And this is when I'll get it back to you. And you just keep things rolling all the time. And again, that takes some practice, but it's one of the things that, how does it being a VA work? That's how being a VA works, is for you to really be on top of your clients and understand what they need, what they've hired you for. And I hate that word hire, but at the same time, what they've, why they are working with you. But And that's the way you kind of need to keep it going, is be the one in charge and make sure that you are the one that's keeping them on task and keeping them on deadline. So I hope that's helpful for you. Nice to see you, Deborah, and ask any questions you want in the group. I'm happy to point you to resources and that kind of thing as well. And we'll see you all next week. Take care.